And again, this is an area a lot of people make mistakes on, right? They say, I want to lose 20 pounds by the end of next year. I want to buy a real estate investment by, next year. And then that's it. It's just this one big, goal, this one big number, this one big success, right?
Welcome. This is the Hot Real Estate Investing Podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping others through real estate investing. Our hosts interview guests from all aspects of real estate investing who generously share valuable experiences and advice. Whether you're starting out or an experienced investor, this is the show for you.
Hello, and how's it going? My name is Travis Shelton, and welcome to the Hot Real Estate Investing Podcast, where we focus on the mindset, motivation, and methodologies of successful real estate investors. Looking forward to a very important topic on goals today, all right? And we're going to discuss how you can start this year, 2024, out strong with your 2024 goals. All right, so we've talked goals before in this podcast, so definitely check out SMART Goals. It's an episode I did that really will help you structure your goals. But at the beginning of every year, we have all these New Year's resolutions, we have goals. We all know that most people don't stick to these sorts of resolutions or goals for very long. Again, why we talked a little bit about why motivation is so important, and that motivation doesn't last, and you got to continue to stay motivated so that you can continue to pursue these goals, right? And so we always kick off these podcasts with a motivational quote. And so the motivational quote today I'm going to share with you comes from Brian Tracy. And he's somebody I follow a lot. He's somebody that I think is excellent for goals. I love some of the books he's written, like Eat That Frog, that we'll review this year as, a little bit of change up in the podcast. We'll actually do some book reviews this year of some really important books that I like and that have shaped my mindset and vision for real estate investing. But Brian Tracy said, goals that are not written down and developed into plans are like bullets without powder in the cartridge. People with unwritten goals go through life shooting blanks. And I totally believe that. There's so many people, I have this goal, I have that goal, never written down, right? We've talked about it, that's a fantasy, a goal not written down is a fantasy in this. But I love this because it's a different way of putting a spin on that by Brian Tracy. And he's just saying basically hey, you can have all these goals in the world, but if you don't write it down, you're basically got no you got no powder in there. You got no ammunition. You got no true ammunition to be able to actually make something happen if you don't write that down. And there's so much power that goes into writing down goals. And so I really, really cannot stress enough and emphasize, please write down your goals this year. Okay, everybody, if you haven't yet, please write them down. If you want to help writing them down, you want accountability, call me up, hit me up. I'd love to spend some time with you guys and help you guys write down some goals for 2024. All right. So today we're going to focus really on three main areas, okay, for goals and how you can start this year off strong. And that's number one, what your goal focus should be. Okay. It's important that when you write down goals that you have a certain focus. All right. We can't make goals that we can't have effect over, right? And that aren't affected 100% by us. And I think a lot of people fail in their goals because they create goals that that they're not 100% responsible for. So we're going to talk first about the goal focus. The second thing we're going to talk about is how to plan goals. Okay. It's important that when you're thinking about what goals you want to set for yourself, that there's a way that you plan those goals and you think about, and you kind of have different questions that you ask yourself so that you create and structure the right type of SMART goal. And then lastly, we're going to talk about goal tracking because, again, it's important to set goals, but that I think is where most people stop. Okay, you write something down. Even if you write it down, you think about something, you're like, I want to do this. All right, I want to lose 20 pounds, right? That's always the New Year's resolution. I want to start a business. I want to buy my first real estate investment. Cool, you make that goal, and then what? Right? You got to identify, and that's part of that, how to plan for goals and your goal focus, to say, what are these measurable things? What are things that I can actually track so that I can achieve these goals? And so those are the three things we're going to talk about today. And so let's dive right in. Okay. So number one, goal focus. So when you're planning your goals, the focus, you want to focus on key goals, okay, that you have control over, okay? Key things you have control over. If you don't have control over it, even if it's a partnership, whatever it might be, you don't have control. Focus on the things that you have control over. If it's a partnership, focus on those things you can do. Don't say, my wife needs to do this and then I'll do this. That's not how a goal works, right? You have to hold yourself 100% accountable. Make sure that your goal, the thing that you're working to achieve within the structure of maybe your ultimate desirable outcome, is something that you are 100% responsible for and can be 100% responsible for. And you don't need to rely on anybody else, any other person, no other money, no other anything, so that you can be successful. Okay. Control what you can control. Okay. Super important. Okay. That's why we're talking about it first. Okay. If you're writing a goal that you can't control, that's not a goal. If you're writing down a goal that you cannot control, that is not your goal. All right. Then you want to rank these goals, right? You might have, I like to do them in different categories. And then I kind of have a 1, 2, and 3 within those categories. I've been doing goal setting for a lot of time. It's kind of, I think, an advanced, maybe a less advanced way. It just depends. Sometimes people just pick one goal every 12 weeks, 1 year, whatever. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but I tend to set multiple goals in different areas of my life. And when I set these different goals in different areas of my life, I also rank them in levels of importance. Okay. That way, what is my number one goal? Okay. What is my number one goal in this area? Maybe in my family life, maybe in my business life, maybe in my relation life, maybe in my spiritual life, whatever it might be. But knowing that, hey, this is what's most important right now. And I'm going to try to focus on that first thing, most important, right? But there are sometimes something that comes up and, hey, it's not my most important goal, but it's out there, right? And I'm going to go and I'm going to achieve that. And I'm going to feel great about it because it was a goal. It was something that is trackable and it's something that, you can ultimately achieve. And so that's really, really important. Again, number one, focus and make sure that that goal is something that you have control over. Okay. Number two, how to plan your goals. Okay. When you're planning your goals, right? I always think it's great, go on a retreat. I love being able to go and spend some days, go on vacation at the end of the year, the beginning of the year. I'll shout out to Vince, my buddy, and Mathis Family Properties has a great goal setting retreat. He's had the last couple of years. He's grown it from just him and his wife to just a couple people and growing it even bigger. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend this year, but those are the sorts of things that I think are amazing for you to attend, for you to really set yourself, get away from everything, think about the things that you really love, the things that you really want. A couple of years ago, I went to Cabo over New Year's and was able to really just sit there and really think about my goals, think about where I wanted to be in the next 5, 10, 15 years with my family, with my wife, and with my real estate investing career. And those things are they're really amazing to get refreshed and re-energized and really give you a ton of motivation for the upcoming year. And so when you're planning, you really want to ask yourself a series of questions, but get away, try not to do it with the kids in the house or this or that. If you're with a significant other, with your wife or your domestic partner, whatever it might be, get away, spend some time. Maybe it's even just a lunch, maybe it's a dinner the first year, but really try to spend a significant amount of time, if you can, a weekend, if you really can, or can you build up to that, start asking yourself important questions. So some important questions to ask yourself is, what do I want? Again, emphasis on I, okay? Because it's something you can control in your goal setting, right? What do I want? Maybe if you're setting goals with, because I like to set family goals or relationship goals with my wife, what do we want, right? But when you're planning yourself, you have to ask yourself first, what do I want? In my relationship with my wife, what do I want? In my real estate investing career, what do I want? Well, that might differ from my wife. And if I'm trying to build a multi-billion-dollar business that I'm away 70 hours a week working, that might not be aligned with the same ideas and morals and values that my wife has, right? And so that's why it's important that we look within ourselves first and identify what we want most, even when we're planning these things with our wife or our family goals, to then be able to share what we ultimately want as a family or as a couple. Okay, what matters most? Okay, that's a second question. What do I want? Then what matters most? Okay, is it making a ton of money or is it raising your kids really well? right? Is it having a big yacht, or is it making sure that you can pay all the bills, right? What matters most is really important. And it's really different to a lot of us, right? If you're single, if you have a family, if you don't have a family, if you're trying to get to retirement, there's so many different variables that play a factor in life that you have to know. What matters most to you, what matters most to your wife. And again, this is why it's nice to do these things even individually as couples when you're doing family planning, or when you're planning goals out as a family, because you'll really know maybe there's something and I said, rank by levels of importance. Maybe there's something that's 1 on my list that is 10th on her list, right? Or we're both aligned and number 1 on our list is the same. Well, that's amazing. That means we're super aligned. That means like we're going to have success. But if there's something that I value a lot and maybe my wife doesn't value a lot, or a business partner doesn't value a lot, well, hey, we're misaligned. We got to talk about that. We got to structure that. We got to figure that out. Why am I more involved in this? Or maybe that's a great way to say, hey, I'll focus more on this and you don't have to focus more on this. So it's first looking in yourself, what matters most to yourself. Okay. And lastly, what I think a lot of people don't focus on is what's going to make the largest impact, right? So often we underestimate what we can get done in a year. Or actually, sorry, said that wrong. We actually tend to overestimate what we can get done in a year, and we underestimate what we can get done in 5 years. Okay. So I like to have, a huge goal. I like to have an idea of something that's going to make the largest impact. Okay. And by having that idea that, maybe your number is, I want $10,000 of monthly cash flow to be financially independent or financially free, right? If you shoot for 25,000, you come up 50 and you only get 50% of that, you blew the 10,000 out of the water, right? Now you got 12.5 and you're living comfortably, right? But you only hit 50% of your goal. But if you go after 50 and you're 50% short, now you're only at 5, and now the dream didn't work, and this real estate investing doesn't work, and yada, yada, yada. So it's more like one of those things, shoot for the stars, you'll end up in the moon. I think David Fitzgerald had a really nice saying, shoot for the moon, you'll end up in the stars. There's different ways of saying it, but it's like you got to aim high and really focus on some of the larger things, right? Don't go after the low hanging fruit. Don't go after a goal that you're going to already achieve. Don't put that as something that's going to make you successful because you're going to go buy a new car. Well, if you already were going to buy a new car, or you're already going to do this or that, or whatever it might be, that's not a goal. That's not something you should write down. That's maybe something you want. Maybe it's number 3 on your list. But at the end of the day, don't cheat yourself. Right? So often we cheat ourselves in what we really want. But when you're setting your goals and it's like, what matters the most to me? I don't cheat myself, man. I shoot really high, and if I come up a little short, I'm okay with that, and if I fail because I'm okay failing, I'm okay with that. But I'd much rather fail shooting for something really, really great than shooting for just something okay. Right. And so that's just how I am. Some of my buddies are like, oh, I want to be a handicap golfer. Right. And my goal is way better than that, because it's like, hey, if I fell and like, let's say I want to be a scratch golfer one day and I end up being like a under 10 handicap, or, I'm a 6 handicap, I'm going to be okay being that, because I shot to be really, really good. And if I'm like, hey, I want to be a 20 handicapper, well, then I achieved that and I don't really have to try anymore, and I don't need to do anything else to be any better. And I'm not really happy with that sort of number or sort of golf. And you shouldn't be either with your life and the things that you achieve. You should want more for your life and your family and your world and the people within it. All right. So now we've talked about planning. You're planning, find yourself a place, find yourself a couple days, at least an hour, a couple hours at the very minimal, maybe a lunch, maybe a date with your significant other, your wife, husband, whatever it might be, and really plan, go through really critical questions first within yourself. What do I want? What matters most? What's going to make the largest impact? And then use that SMART goal setting we've talked about before, and I've given you a framework for to really be able to structure those goals and make SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound goals that are really going to be able to set you forward. So now lastly, goal tracking. And again, this is an area a lot of people make mistakes on, right? They say, I want to lose 20 pounds by the end of next year. I want to buy a real estate investment by, next year. And then that's it. It's just this one big, goal, this one big number, this one big success, right? But success is a bunch of little successes added up. And that's what a lot of people lose vision of, right? To lose 20 pounds, you got to lose the first pound, right? To buy real estate, you got to do something, right? You got to either have the money, you got to have the connections, you got to find the deal, you got to find the location, you got to have a buy box. There's so many things that go into it. So you have to have more than just this one big goal. And so that way, the goal tracking is so important. And so something you've heard me say before and something you're going to hear me say over and over again is consistently good rather than occasionally great. And you don't know if you're consistently good if you don't track. Okay? You don't know if you're consistently good if you don't track. You have to identify how you can quantify your goals and break them down into quantifiable, measurable, trackable things. Okay? A check mark, a tick, a W for win, whatever it might be, you want some sort of scorecard. That scorecard gives you that motivation, right? That scorecard is going to tell you if you're making progress towards that big goal or if you're not making progress, right? That tick mark that I walked 10,000 steps every day, or I worked out that day, or that I, saved money. Maybe I made myself lunch so that I could save $5 so that I could buy that investment property, or I could put more money down, or maybe I'm doing something. I'm contacting a broker every week so that I'm following up with them, so I'm top of mind for when a deal comes. Whatever it is, it's very simple to identify within this big goal. You have to be able to quantify and track your success. What is tracked and what is measured is improved upon. Okay. So if you want to improve it, track it. You'll improve. So you have to be able to set these big goals that are important, that matter to you, that you're going to move forward with, and that you can track. So you can track your success. And sometimes those goals will change, guys. Like sometimes halfway through the year, you're going to say, that's not what I want anymore. Right. And you're going to pivot. That's fine. That's normal. That's not a failure. That is a success. That's knowing what you don't want. But if it's a goal and you want it and it's not written down and you're not tracking it, you have no idea if you're getting further, if you're getting closer, if it's still a goal of yours. And that's why the first thing is write it down. Okay. Be able to track it. Make sure that it's something that you have control over. Right. And so with that scorecard and with being able to track it, that's why I love, winning the day. That's why I love to track things, right? I want some sort of daily planning that I can plan every day to say, can I make steps towards my next goal? I want to win the day. So if I say, if I do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to win the day. And it's going to move me closer to that big goal that I want. And I'm just looking for that 1% better every day. That's all it takes. 1% better every day. I think it's 3,600% in a year. So that's a pretty good margin there. I would take those sorts of percentages in my number, right? So you're always going to be moving closer to your goals if you're tracking them. You're going to track them. You're going to want to check that box. You're going to be moving forward consistently good rather than occasionally great. If it's there, if you're looking at it, you're tracking it, you're going to get better. So the way to start your year strong in 2024, create some goals. Goals should scare you a little bit and excite you a lot, right? If I'm like, I want to buy 100 units this year, that's a little scary for me. Super exciting. I know I got to do a ton of work to be able to do it. That's not one of my goals. It probably should be, but it's not one of my goals. But set goals, write them down, track. Make sure that they're trackable and go out there and kill it, guys. Hope this helped. Hope you guys are going to create some big goals and start by getting and taking some action today to move your investing forward. Take care and God bless.